Hello and welcome back to the Daily Star's live show on the National Budget 2026-2027. And joining me in the studio right now are Deputy Editor of the Daily Star, Mr. Arun Devnath, and Digital Editor of the Daily Star, Mr. Tanim Ahmed. Welcome and thank you for joining me in the studio. We know that this year's budget is not just an economic document, but it is a political statement from a government that has returned to power after almost 2 decades. So let's start over there. This question is for both of you, or you guys can decide who wants to answer. But what makes this budget politically different from the past budgets we've seen over the past 15, 16 years?
You want to go first?
Sure. I thought this budget had some new terms, new language, which people might find interesting. It's probably more to catch people's imagination than to actually produce something or say something substantive. And
it wanted to seem impressive.
Yes, the rhetoric is lofty and it's soaring. Of course, there's a lot of substance as well, but the things that catch your attention at first, there are 3 R's that we've talked about and 2 sets of 3 R's. There are 10 priorities. There's green economy and blue economy and creative economy. There's this demographic dividend and longevity dividend, and then there's a democratic dividend. So there are all these new terms, some of them new concepts, maybe not implemented or translated into the numbers. However, the speech or the rhetoric was certainly sort of uplifting. So it's and in many ways perhaps even inspiring. So I would say that coming back after 2 decades, they probably needed something like this to lift people, at least lift their moods, and kind of inspire people and maybe help them towards dreaming or show them that lofty dream, I suppose, something like that. So politically, I would say this was naturally this would be their chance, and also coming back to power after 2 decades, I think everyone would give them a little rope. So and they know it as well. So I think the finance minister took full advantage of that sentiment as well.
Right. Yeah. Arunda, I would like to ask you the same question, and also perhaps maybe if you could, for our viewers, elaborate on the 3 R's that Tanim had mentioned.
But maybe he disagrees with some of what I said.
Perhaps.
Well, yeah. Okay, technically responding to your first question, budget, it comes every year and it's a fiscal arrangement, as you know. We have to make sure, the government has to make sure that the numbers add up. Yeah. So that is the technical part of the budget. But in a sense, the budget is always anchored in the political motivation and priorities, especially in the election manifesto. Yeah. As you know, the election took place in February. Yeah. It's not far off. So there is the shadow of the election and the election promises to the voters. Right. So it's when you go through the document, especially the budget speech of the finance minister, there's a reflection of that election manifesto in the budget. But the things don't become very clear when you look at the numbers. But if you look at the priorities, what is the government is going to do for the voters, for the citizens, and the promises it made in during the election campaign. Correct. So that becomes apparent. And I believe that for this government, as you asked both of us that why is it different? When a government stays there for a long time, let's say for 15 years, it doesn't need to prove anything new.
Right. Yeah.
But this government, there's a tremendous pressure
Exactly.
on the government to say something new, to prove something new, to come up with new ideas. But sometimes the new government may not care too much about the execution part or the implementation part, because the government will feel kind of the voters' pressure. It's called the burden of the expectations to impress the nation.
Right.
As if everybody is looking up to the finance minister or the prime minister, what they are coming up with.
Yeah.
To add to my answer and also his, I thought throughout the speech, there was a strong attempt to appear accountable to the people. So trying to appear like a government, a machinery that would actually hold itself accountable, or trying to justify what it's going to do. So there's things like, say, value for money, employment generation, this will happen and that must go on, and so on. So it's that was, I would say, missing with the Awami League regime, since they had been in power for such a long time. It was such an authoritarian government and so on. But here, there's a slight bit of difference from that point of view, perhaps.
Yeah, but I just want to add a question to this. You brought up the issue of implementation, and there's always going to be a question in that. But if the current government has felt the pressure to impress the voters, at least through their wording in the budget, would they not feel the pressure to make sure the implementation takes place?
The pressure will always be there.
Right.
But maybe not in the first year. It's still, I believe, that there's some sort of honeymoon period for the government.
Right.
It's just 4 months,
Yeah.
not too long. There are expectations, but at the same time, the people are also looking at the other scenarios or the other situation. In a way, like the Middle East conflict.
Right. Yeah.
So that is the backdrop. The inflation. This government, as we always say, that it inherited a lot of problems.
Right. Even with the banking sector.
Sector, inflation, the price pressure, the corruption, all sorts of things. In the first year, maybe people will be a bit less judgmental.
Right.
But in the second year,
right.
When the second budget will come next year, the people will be much more serious about the government. I mean, whether they are going to implement or they are
going to keep their word.
Actually implementing it. So it's in a way it's a turbulent period, and what remains to be seen, how much the government is prepared to confront that problem.
Right. So Prime Minister Tariq Rahman has spent over a decade abroad, and right now our Finance Minister, Mr. Amir Khosrow Mahmood Chaudhry, he was the Commerce Minister in the previous government, BNP government, I believe. With this being his first budget as Finance Minister and Tariq Rahman's first budget as Prime Minister, how might that shape the political priorities and the tone of this budget?
It's interesting. Tariq Rahman looked at Bangladesh or the economy or the problems from a distance. He was in London for a long time, but now he's at the center of everything, the economy and beyond. Now he will have to prove that the economy is on track. He will be under constant spotlight
and scrutiny.
What he's going, whether he's doing it successfully, or he's doing it in the right way or the way we want. So there will be a lot of expectations for him. And speaking of the finance minister, yes, as you rightly mentioned, he was the commerce minister, but as a finance minister, he's new to the system. And there's a long gap, 2 decades. The economy 20 years ago was quite different.
Right.
The economy today is another affair.
Right.
Our economy is much more globalized or globally connected, if you like. So if something happens in the Middle East, it has an impact on us, on the economy.
Directly, right.
Just to give you an example, Bangladesh imports, I think, more than 90% or 95% of its
LNG
energy
and oil.
needs,
Energy, right, yeah.
oil and gas, LNG, from the Middle East.
Yeah.
But at that time, we didn't, I mean, it was not necessary for us to import that much from abroad. So this is a different economic reality.
Right.
If you want to add
Right.
something.
Bhai.
Yes, I thought that whether it's for Tariq Rahman presiding over the proceedings, or whether it's for Amit Khosrow being the first time finance minister, some of the things that, some of the measures seem to be backing up some of the rhetoric.
Right.
So in terms of, say, education or health, we see at least some indication that there will be training and retraining of teachers. New doctors and nurses will be trained and hired.
Yeah.
Of course, that's barely going to make up for the deficit we have right now in terms of the personnel we need.
Sectors, yeah.
But then they will also build more schools and hospitals. But then improvement in both these sectors will not come from the infrastructure, but the services delivered, right? Also, there's also investment plans into madrasa education, which is also something we've never really taken care of. So those are positive signs.
Yeah.
Whether this is because it's BNP's first time in a long time, or whether it's because Tariq Rahman is sitting there for the first time, I don't know. But these are some things that told
Some
me
positive changes we're saying.
yes, you can't really come out and say they're only full of rhetoric and it's not backed up by the plans. The plans are there.
Yeah.
It depends on how much is allocated and how well they actually execute these plans. Yes.
Right. So we were talking about the pressures that the government is facing. So there's managing public expectation. There's also stabilizing the economy. There's also they need to prepare for future political challenges. Which audience do you think the government is targeting with this budget, or primarily speaking to? Is it the voters, the investors, development partners, or the bureaucracy itself?
I think it's a combination of all. I mean, a budget is essentially meant for everyone and everything. As I say that they are, I mean, they said it differently, but it's my understanding of the things that they're trying to say, whether that is actually happen, that no one should be left behind. But it's easier said than done.
Right.
Because that's the, you know, the thematic, they use the term inclusive, but that is a thematic framework. But thematic framework, to have a thematic framework is very easy, but it's far more difficult to implement it. So social spending, for example, you can announce in your budget that, okay, this is my social spending plan. But when it comes to implementation, the question is whether it is trickling down to the right recipients. So there's no abuse of the system,
Right.
and there's no corruption. So the government will will have to make sure that things are right.
I thought that I was actually trying to listen to the speech and trying to listen to what the finance minister was telling the entrepreneurs or investors. Because of the lofty budget and such a huge revenue target, economy would have to perform really well. And that would mean that entrepreneurs and industrialists, investors, they really get in on it. I thought he was trying to do that during the speech. When he was going through the tax measures, he kind of several times he mentioned, this is going to be like this, no hassles, no nothing. You come and do your business, you sell your stuff. This is what you do, and you send it out. No more hassles. Even with the priorities, we've seen that the the government is trying to set up like a single point approval system where businesses get their approval from one single source. These little tweaks and these things, and we know that this bureaucratic hassle has always been an obstacle for businesses and industries and private entrepreneurship. I think the government is trying to woo them, if you will, and court them and make sure that the private engine, the private business engine, this actually roars back into life. They've set themselves a high growth target, which is going to go up by about 60-70% from last year's target. That's a huge jump. They have also set themselves a high revenue target, which is like an 80% growth over last year. So this is pretty much close to impossible to achieve. And we understand that, but still, the other section I thought the budget was speaking to was the voters. Not so much as bureaucrats. They're in different ways. I would say that it's very much under their control all the time. There's none of the budgets have been so radical as to displease bureaucrats in any way. It doesn't really.
No, but there's a separate allocation for the pay scale. So I'm pretty sure the bureaucrats will be very happy. Because the announcement, that plan was announced by the interim government, and there was a lot of criticism against it. Still, I mean, but this government went for what is known as the phased implementation, not doing everything in one go. So so for that, this is the first year, and the government allocated an extra amount of money for that, for the pay scale. So the bureaucrats will be happy.
They will certainly be happy. It's not something that they're going out of their way to do. Let's say something like, if they were really wanted to do it and they said primary school teachers, their jobs should be the most sought after, fought for jobs. That to be the best paid jobs in the country. That would really upset the bureaucrats. Nothing like that yet. So in that way, I mean, it's not really, and this is a new government. They don't have the solid political foundation yet in different ways. So they're still trying to make sure that the system runs. So they wouldn't upset the bureaucrats either. But I thought they were genuinely trying to speak to the investors, the entrepreneurs, and the voters. As for the lenders, I think it's an exercise on paper, just so that the benchmarks, the set requirements are there. So the deficit, which is coming from bank loans and maybe some foreign loans, are kept below 5%, but that's only because they have set a huge target.
It's even less than 4%. So there'll be this is just to add to that point. So it was, when the budget was announced, that was 3.6% of GDP. I mean, for the outgoing fiscal year, and now the new one, we have the same fiscal deficit in terms of GDP, 3.6%. So it closely aligns with what IMF expects Bangladesh to do. So in a way, you can safely say the IMF will be a bit happy about that. But the thing is, it can be just a number. If NBR or the government, broadly speaking, fails to generate enough revenue in comparison with the target it's set in the new budget, that will be the problem.
Which Tanim Bhai already said was quite unachievable, that target.
It's only to provide the government with the ability to say we've kept the deficit below 4%. It's not really, no one really expects the NBR to achieve that kind of a high target. It's an 80% increase over last year's whatever they got. It's huge.
But as I said initially, you have to make sure that the numbers add up. So you have to, it's like a one-page document if you look at the numbers. So there is a spending target and the revenue target, and there is the gap, and the gap is known as the fiscal deficit, and it's always measured in terms of GDP. So this is a mathematical
And
calculation.
my point would be, if Arun and I get it, IMF will get it too.
Okay. All right. But we've already seen a lot of debates going on around, say, social safety nets, election-related allocations, climate financing, and business initiatives. Are there any hidden political messages within these spending priorities?
It's for you to comment.
I don't think there's anything hidden, not till now at least. We'll only find out perhaps later if there are loopholes and so on. There may be some debate, of course, over the facility to whiten black money or untaxed income. So, and it's only with certain loopholes that you leave in the system that you may be criticized for. So that's and those are perhaps less in the budget and perhaps more in other regulations and laws. But so far that I've heard, nothing has struck me as being something that there might be a subliminal message here or there. But I don't know how you felt about it.
No, I concur with that. This is the first day, so when I mean, not just me, my colleagues will pour over the documents and look at the numbers, the messages, hidden political message, probably not on the first day.
Probably not.
Probably
Not right
it
now.
will say not right now.
Right, yeah.
It may maybe on the second day or the third day, and then you go deeper and you discover something what is hidden there.
So there's still a lot for
There's
us
a
to
lot
see in the coming days.
It's not just the budget is not always confined to the budget speech. There are other documents, and the financial or the business reporters, they dig deeper into that, and they find some interesting numbers that were not really mentioned in the budget speech on the first day. So that remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the development projects, or let's say even education sector, and where the money is actually going, how they're spending it, how much is being spent on salaries or snacks and entertainment as opposed to research and stuff like that. But that'll come later.
That'll come later, right. So historically, budgets in Bangladesh have been criticized as being technical documents very disconnected from public concerns. Politically speaking, what do you think will determine whether this budget is seen as a success or as a failure?
That okay, let me put it this way. Whether the budget is a success or a failure, you have to wait for at least 1 year to say this at the end of the year. But the question is whether it can appeal to the intended audience. That is another question. I'm sure that some of the announcements will definitely appeal to the people at large. For example, tax exempted ceiling for individual taxpayers. It slightly went up, and there's a tax predictability. The companies know beforehand now, thanks to that announcement, that what or at what rate they are going to pay tax for the next 3 or 4 years. So this is a kind of, I would say, transparent and modern taxation system that can be said safely.
Right. Tanim bhai, what do you think? In politically speaking, what will determine the success or failure of this budget?
I would say that I mean, how would you, as you mentioned, it's something that's disconnected from the people. I think not so much. They've already started with their family cards, and these social schemes. If people get tangible benefits out of these, and they listen to the same kind of programs being scaled up, replicated, I think they would feel like, okay, I'm getting, I'm in for more benefits. I'll get some more support, and so on. These are, of course, measures to pull or lift people up, that group of people who cannot do it by themselves. There are, of course, this huge section of people who can do it by themselves with proper education and health, which is also where it would matter. I think the success or failure would largely depend on how well the government is able to restore confidence of investors and get businesses going, and also how well it addresses our deficiencies in health and education, especially health, given the situation right now with the measles outbreak and this and that. So yes, these, whatever gets people tangible, visible benefits will probably be the deciding factor, or to say whether this has been a successful budget or not.
We've spoken about social safety nets. We've spoken about the education sector, the health sector as well. I've asked this question to my previous guest, and I would like to know your thoughts on this as well. For the general public, especially the middle class, what should they look out for in this budget right now, today, if they were to look in areas of improvement in their lives, or which areas might they be disappointed?
It's too early to comment, but as I mentioned previously, tax exemption ceiling is one area that will make people happy or happier than before,
Right.
Because there is a growing demand for that. But the previous, the interim government couldn't do that. Now this government is doing it, and it sets some, concrete plan how it will shape up in future.
Right.
So that will bring kind of cheer to some people.
Right.
But I'd like to mention one thing I forgot. I think you also asked that question briefly at the very beginning, that regardless of whether this budget will be a success or a failure, the people will talk about it because of certain words and expressions.
Right. The 3 R's I wanted to know.
The 3R strategy. And there's a fancy term, brain circulation in education.
Brain circulation, instead of not saying brain drain, but they'll handle, brain gain. Instead of saying brain gain, the finance minister said he would address brain drain with brain circulation, which was kind of interesting. And then there's what is that? Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yeah. That's one 3R, and then there's another 3Rs.
That was for
recover.
There's the economic recovery.
Right,
one is the recovery. The second one, that's for 1 year. Very specific timeline. Is another area that we have to measure the government's performance, whether the economic recovery is really happening. So it's good for us
And that
as
too
a
is one of
journalist.
the biggest priorities of the government.
And then we can, 1 year down the line, we can say, or we can at least measure, or we can ask economists who follow the economy very closely, whether the government really did that part,
Right.
because they have the deadline, 1 year deadline. And the second one is the restoration. That is up to for 3 years. And the third one is reconstruction. So when you hear all these three words in one sentence, you may get confused because they are so similar, but there's a subtle difference. One is the recovery period. Just imagine a patient, so the patient is recovering, and then the restoration, some kind of active effort to put the economy back on track, and then reconstruct, then you are more active.
Right.
So this government is elected for 5 years, so they have a plan for 5 years. So it is aligned with the government's existence, or the term, to say it correctly.
But also, I thought the budget had plans or gives indications that it's not just for the 5 years that it's planning. It's trying to leave a system in place that will probably go on. Plans
Will
that
also
will,
help other governments plan
yes,
their
it's
budgets.
going forward.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay, so lastly, I want to know from both of you in one sentence each, what is the single biggest political challenge this budget must address?
I guess I'll do it in 3 words.
Yeah.
Jobs, wages, prices.
Okay, and Orunda?
Yeah, it's it's
Did he steal your answer?
no, it's always the same, because these 3 issues are the real issues, and you cannot ignore any one of them.
Yeah.
If you are really serious about the economy or economic recovery, jobs, definitely it's a big crisis, and it's the pressure is intensifying. Every year new graduates are coming out from universities, and the economy is failing to generate enough jobs to absorb all those new people, and our economy is mostly informal. So it's another challenge, whether the informal economy can absorb that many people. This is a really, I mean,
To you, this
big
is the political challenge that it must
political
address,
challenge
right?
to creating jobs, and
Absolutely. Prices.
the economists
Yeah.
constantly talk about that. Price is another big area. If you look at the inflation numbers, in 1 month it was a bit easing, and then the next month it was going up. So, and it's I mean, partly because of the Middle East crisis, because the prices of energy and electricity, but that is not reflected yet, but it will see the impact in future.
All right. Thank you so much, Tanim Bhai and Orunda. I hope you guys helped in explaining the budget to the people a little easier.
We hope so too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the newsroom in a while.
I
Sure.
think we could explain something.
Yeah.
I see.
If I understood, viewers will understand. So thank you. Thank you both once again.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're going to be back with another guest very soon. Stay with the Daily Star.